from the Iowa Ceramic Center and Glass Studio. I'm one of the resident artists here, and today I'll be talking about a hand building project that you can do in your spare time at home, since we have a lot of that these days. So what you can do is you can make like a little house, and if you wanted to, you could even make it into a luminary or something like that. And you can make it as big as you want. It really just depends on how much clay you have. So what we're gonna do is we need to cut out kind of a bunch of the structures. So actually, I'm gonna make a pretty big ball. Okay, I'm just gonna put that to the side. So I have a pretty large amount of clay because I'm gonna roll it out just using like a regular rolling pin, but you'll kind of want to also start a little flatter. So you can kind of just use the heel of your hand, just kind of pat it down. Just to get you started. So I'm going to start with that. And then I'm going to use my rolling pin. I don't want this to be too thin because I don't want the walls of my house to be super flimsy, but I also don't want it to be like chunky. So we're gonna just roll it out a little bit more. And when I'm rolling out clay, just to get a nice even slab, I'll just make sure to rotate frequently and be firm, but not too much pressure in any one spot. And then, so we're just going to kind of freehand the little house walls. So we'll do the walls first, and then we'll do the roof, and then we'll do little designs on it. So I'm going to cut out a little shape, which I'll show you in a second. And I'm going to be making sure to work kind of like towards the edge of my slab as much as possible, because we want to conserve our slab and have enough clay for all the components. So just going to cut out a little house silhouette, which I'll show you. Okay, it's like we're making cookies. So I have this little house guy, and then I'm going to use this to trace out another one that'll be the same, because that way they'll match up nicely. So I'm just going to lay it down on top of my slab, and then I'll just cut around that. And you can just use a skewer, you can use a butter knife, whatever you have available. Or a needle tool if you're fancy. Right, so now I have two that are pretty much the same. They're a little different. That's okay. And I'll probably be doing smooth side out. We'll keep the more rugged side on the interior. And then now I need to do the sides that are then going to hold them together. So I want that to be the same height as this edge right here on the side. So I'm going to kind of just lay these down just for reference. And then cut it out, and I can make a really long house, I can make a little square house, whatever I want to do. I'm going to shoot for on the square side. So then I just cut out this guy, because on my slab I laid these together. Oh, well, now it doesn't look very even, but we can always adjust that. It's more even with this side. We're going to have a slightly asymmetrical house, but that's okay. I mean, yeah, so we can always kind of fine tune later when we're actually putting it together. Okay, so now I'm going to put my slab aside. I'm going to use this for the roof, so I don't want to crumple it up just yet. So I'm just going to put that to the side. Okay, and then now I'm just going to grab a little bending wheel here, and then, like I said, like a gingerbread house, so we're going to kind of put it together. So here's kind of what I'm working with here. Nice little slab project. And then, like I said earlier, I'm going to put the smooth side on the outside. Now, to get this to fit together, I'm going to need to do lots of attaching clay together. So when we do that, we want to do scratch, splash, and attach. So we want to do some scratches on each part of the house. So I'm just doing it on each side like that on this part. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece. And then now, this is where it can get a little confusing for people. We're going to be kind of fitting it together like this. So I'm going to want to do my scratches on this side right here. So I'm going to do that on both of these pieces using the sharp end of my stick here. Now, you always want to do a generous amount of scratching. Alright, and then I'm going to add just a dot of water. And then I'm going to start putting this together. So, nice side is on the outside. And then I'm just going to fit it together. Just going to kind of press it in. And then I'm going to smooth it out just a little bit. If things are getting a little wonky, that's alright. I'm just going to smooth it out. You can fine tune later, but just kind of smoothing out that seam. And then to the inside seam here, you can add just a little bit of extra clay, just from your scraps, just to help smooth that out. And this will make sure that your house doesn't fall apart. It's very important. Okay, and then I'm going to do, just going to add on things now. So I'm going to add on another wall. Just going to dot some water on there. You can do this while it's sitting down. From here on out, it's kind of easier that way. You don't have to coordinate as many floppy pancakes. Okay, so I just pressed it in, and then I'm just smoothing the side, and then I'm going to reinforce the inside like I just did earlier. So I'm just going to put a little bit of clay, and then I'm just smearing it down into that corner. Being careful not to press too hard because I don't want to deform it. So things are looking good. So now we'll do the last wall. And notice how I'm just putting water on one of the pieces. We don't want things to get too soggy. And kind of line it up, squish it together. Look, almost done. You could also totally put incense in this. Could give it like a little, some windows for incense to come out of. That'd be cute. Okay, and then here I am also going to kind of focus on smoothing these little corners out on the top. So just using my fingers. You can always add a tiny bit of water if you need help smoothing. You can also kind of smooth out the outside corners too. I feel like that's one of the ways you can be more professional. It's like smooth things out really well. Don't have any rough edges. Okay, the inside doesn't matter as much though, because people won't see that part. Okay, so now we're going to add a little roof. So the roof on this guy is a little big, so I might make something a tiny bit smaller. But general idea. So it's basically just two rectangles that I cut out to be the right size. So we're going to be kind of using this as a template. So you don't even have to measure anything. And I'm just going to bring my slab back over here. I'm probably going to cut it out from this area because I saved that. So I knew I could use it later. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little house, which is looking pretty cute, and then I'm just going to lay it on here. Kind of like that. And then that way I can trace it. You can kind of go underneath and draw a line that's a little bit past the wall on all sides, just a little. Because we can always cut it smaller if we want. So we're just going to do that. Okay. Oh, and I might actually need to roll out more clay because I almost have enough, but not quite. Okay, so here's one of our roof pieces. So let's see how that lines up. So that looked pretty good. Yeah, so there's half our roof. So we want to do another one. So I don't quite have any pieces of clay that are big enough for that, so I'm just going to roll out more. Not a big deal. Alright, at this point my clay is getting a little dry, but it's actually kind of better to work with slightly drier clay when you're doing slab work, because then things won't flop around as much. So right now I'm just wedging. Maybe we should make a whole other video about wedging. That can be for later. But you could just ball it up, squish it around. You might have some air bubbles in there, but it's fine. Okay, so there we go. Just gonna get it started. Ta-da! Beautiful. Roll. It might be tricky to get the exact same thickness, but we'll see. That feels pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Got my little new slab. So I'm just going to set this other roof piece on there and trace it. So you don't even really need a stencil for any of these things. You can just kind of make up that first, you know, these first two shapes, and then you just kind of go from there. So it's very much individual, unique. Okay, so let's see how these look. We can bring our house back. And kind of set them on there. So the thing when you have two slabs like this coming together is you have this kind of awkward area. So we could just add in like a coil there. So I think I'm probably going to do that. So first I'm going to attach these two pieces, and then I'll add in a coil to make a nice point at the top. So I feel like that looks pretty good. It's not, the roof is not overpowering the house, kind of like on this one. So it's a little bit more simple. Alright, so now we're going to do our scratching and scoring and attaching. So as I kind of talked about when I was tracing it out, this roof is a little bit bigger than the house, so I don't really want to score this edge. I want to score where the roof is, where the house is sitting. So on the inside. Okay, so that should line up pretty well. Oh, I did it on the nice side by accident. We'll just smooth it out extra nice afterwards. Okay, and then I'm going to score my house. Set this down. It's good to do it in multiple directions because that really helps rough up the clay. Alright. Some water on the house and tap to these little guys. And I'm just kind of holding onto the house and just pressing the roof in gently. You can always turn it over and make sure. Okay. Just gonna put them both on there. Okay, so this can be kind of the tricky part because there's a lot going on. I would smooth from the inside, but if things are a little scraggly on the outside, you can always smooth from in there. I'm just gonna take a little bit of clay to add in. And then I'm just going to lay clay inside, and then I'm just going to smooth all these rough edges out. Just so my roof doesn't fall off later. I'm also smoothing the two roof pieces together. Okay, so I don't know if you can see what it looks like on the inside, but it's a little bit more smoothed out than it was. I added some clay to reinforce things. And if I accidentally push anything out, I can always kind of push it back in from the outside. Okay, so now we're gonna fine tune the roof and add a little bit of clay in the middle there so we have a nice point. So I'm just gonna roll a coil And put it on there. And you can always add more clay if we want to. And then basically I'm just going to be smearing it down on each side, and we'll just kind of see how it's looking. And then kind of going across. Do that on the other side. You can kind of use both your fingers at the same time. This is very pointy. Okay. Get it to settle down a little bit. Also, though, I don't want to cave in my roof too much. Push out from the inside. You can also always use your table to help you shape things, especially things that are very geometric. So I can just kind of pat my roof on there and do that on the other side. That kind of helps flatten things out a little bit. And so I'm just going to smooth out just a little bit more, and then we'll add some more details. So I'm going to add some windows, and you could always like cut them out, or you could just trace them on there. I always, when I do little houses like this, I like to make a little opening for the door, or at least somewhere, because I feel like that makes it look kind of cool. And it's fun to play with if you're little. So I'm going to use my bent paper clip for this, since it's a lot smaller than my skewer. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I want my door to be. And we'll put it kind of in the middle here. And I'm going to draw a line down. You can always trace it before you actually make the cut. But I'm just kind of doing a little thing like this. And you could make it, I'll show you a couple options, because you could make it where the door is kind of standing ajar, or you could just cut out the door completely. It's also kind of a thick door. So we can always cut that down a little bit. It's a very thick door. Let me cut that down. So then basically I'm going in from underneath, and you can kind of use your paper clip to kind of cut at an angle just to make it not look as chunky. So this is kind of the surgical part of it. There we go. That looks better. So now I just have a little edge on my door. And again, as always, making sure to smooth things out. You can always use like a little paintbrush or something to smooth things. Like a little paintbrush with water works really nicely. So you do a little door like that. You could open it, you know, a little more if you want. You could cut it off completely like this one. And you can do the same thing for the windows. I'll probably do just like little openings for the windows. We'll see how well that works. So I might put some, like a big window on the other side. Do one of those little like circular windows. That's a big window. Kind of cut out a rough circle. Make sure you go all the way through. I might need to poke it out from the inside. I didn't go all the way through, so we'll do one more time. My paper clip is a little bendy, so it's gonna get tricky. There we go. Okay, and so I'm gonna smooth that out because it's a little rough. But this part is kind of just like carving a pumpkin or something. Just needs a little bit of water. You can also smooth from the inside. And I accidentally kind of smoothed out my roof a little bit, so you can kind of go back with your finger and redefine that if you need to. So you can do that. You can do more windows and things all around the house. You could do some stamps if you have any. You could also kind of add some texture with your skewer if you want. You could draw like some little shingles on there if you want. So it's really up to you at this point. You can just kind of make it your own little house. This is kind of a fish scale option. so you can get fancy. But yeah, all right. So there is how to do a slab house, which is very much like a gingerbread house. Thank you for watching.